If you are here watching this video today, I'm assuming it's because you have a phone interview coming up for an internship that you applied for, which is awesome. And maybe you don't, but maybe you anticipate ones coming up in your near future because you've been sending in those internship applications and you've been doing your follow-ups as I talk about. So you might have a phone interview on the books soon, which is great. But how do you prepare for one? How do you make sure that you nail that phone interview and that you're confident and you're really presenting your best self? Because it is your first impression. Look, companies, they don't often want to bring you in for an interview as a first step in the hiring process because it's just a lot of time and energy and work on their part to bring people into the office. So a phone interview or Skype or another video platform that they may be using is usually their first step in the hiring process because it just allows them to get that first impression of you and decide if you are worth their time. So it's your lucky day because it's a snow day in Denver, as you can tell behind me, and it's kind of dreary outside. So I figured why not film some videos for you today? And in this one, I am giving you 20 tips on how to nail your phone interview. So grab a notebook, grab a pen, and get ready to go. And if you're ready, hit that like button below. And while you're there, hit subscribe too. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? I put up new videos on this channel every Monday to help you take control of your future one internship at a time. Let's go.
Hey there, I'm Jenna Ryan from the internhustle.com, and this is Initiative Muscle Monday, helping you to start each week with an intentional step toward a successful future. Let's do this.
Just because you landed the phone interview does not mean you landed the internship. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that this is your first impression. This is your opportunity to really show who you are and connect with the company. So it's super important that you nail this first step in the hiring process. And to help you do this, I'm breaking down my 20 tips for you today into 4 sections, just so it's a little bit easier for you to follow along, digest what we're talking about today, and really help you prepare for the phone interview. Now, how do I have 20 tips for you on phone interviews? Well, I've been on a lot of phone interviews. I've been the candidate multiple times, and I've also been the person that's been hiring people on the phone a lot. So I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I've come up with these great tips to really help you avoid a lot of the mistakes that I see people making. Because if you're prepared, you're gonna give off a great first impression and hopefully score that next in-person interview and ultimately the internship. Let's go. We are gonna break this down into 4 sections today. I am talking about before the interview, the day of the interview, during the interview, and after the interview. So again, grab that notebook, grab that pen, because we have 20 tips and you're gonna wanna write these down. Let's kick things off with before the interview. Tip number 1, you need to confirm call logistics. Now, what do I mean by call logistics? I mean, who's calling who? Now, in most cases, the employer is going to be calling you, but you should make sure that they actually have the correct phone number for you. Can't even tell you how many times it happens where sometimes they just have the wrong number and then there's this really big miscommunication, like right off the bat, because they're trying to call you, you're not answering because they're not actually calling the correct number. So make sure that you've confirmed call logistics, you've double checked that they have the correct phone number for you, and then make sure that you check the time zone with them. Time zone is super important because they might be on the East Coast and you might be on the West Coast. And if they say noon, but you're thinking noon Pacific time, but it's really 9 a.m. your time, that's a problem. So again, call logistics. Make sure that you have those locked and ready to go before the interview. Tip number 2, I want you to mark it on your calendar and set reminders for yourself. Now, a lot of companies might send you a calendar invite after they schedule the interview with you. And that's great. Awesome. It's on your calendar. You're good. But I also want you to put it on your calendar yourself because it's super important that you get in a good habit of using your calendar to track the important things that you have going on in the internship process. And the interview phase is a super important part of your internship process, is it not? So go ahead and put this on your calendar. Make sure again that you have it in the correct time zone. Put any details in there about the person that you're going to be talking to so that you make sure you have all that ready to go. Maybe put their LinkedIn profile in there so you can pull that up on the day of the interview, and then set reminders for yourself so that the day of, you are ready to go. You have reminders going off. There's no way you're gonna forget that this phone interview is happening. All right, tip number 3, do your research. Now, I talk about research a lot. If you've watched any of my other videos, especially videos on applying for internships and completing your resume and your cover letter and interviewing, all of that, it is so important that you do your research on the company. Not only the company, but the person or the people that are going to be interviewing you. Why? Because it shows that you actually care. It shows that this isn't just one of 25 internships that you've applied for. It shows that you want to work for this company if you know more about them and you can ask them thoughtful questions throughout the interview process. Make sure that you are doing research. Google the company, look up the people on LinkedIn. Do they have a social media account that you can follow to see what they talk about on a regular basis? All of this is super important before the interview. Tip number 4, the final tip in the before the interview phase that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is practice. Today, we are all so used to just texting people and talking to people over social media and things like that, that we're not as used to using our vocal cords and actually getting on a phone to have a conversation. So it's so important that you actually take some time to practice. And I'm talking about a mock interview. Grab a roommate or just put yourself on camera like this. Do something where you're getting to talk and answer common interview questions and talk out loud. Because if your brain's done it once before, it's not gonna freak out as much when you're actually doing the real thing. So practice, practice, practice. The next section that we're gonna cover today is day of the phone interview. So tip number 5 is to ensure that you have a good connection. We've all been in situations where our cell signal drops, and maybe that's your dorm room or your apartment. But if that's the case, you need to make sure that you find a new location with a strong signal that you can have this call in so that you're not dropping it throughout the phone interview. And to follow up on that, tip number 6 is to eliminate background noise and any distractions. So if you do live with roommates, make sure that they're tucked away in their bedroom or that they know to stay out of your way if you're gonna be having this phone interview in your apartment. And if you have any alerts that might be going off on an iPad or some other device, silence that device, put it on do not disturb mode. You wanna make sure that there are no distractions, 0 distractions while you're on the phone. Tip number 7, day of interview. I want you to dress up because first of all, we just feel better. We feel more confident. We feel like our best self when we're dressed to impress. Doesn't matter if you're just on the phone, you're gonna feel better by dressing up. And the second reason is because what if they spontaneously ask you to jump on video during the phone interview? You don't wanna be in your pajamas, right? So you wanna make sure that at least from the waist up, you're looking good and presentable so that if you have to jump on a video, you can. And again, it doesn't have to be everything, just waist up, look presentable. Spoiler alert, I actually wear sweatpants most of the time when I film these videos for you. So you do you. I'm just saying from the waist up, make sure you look presentable. Tip number 8, and this is one of my favorite ones, have your resume on hand. Okay? You've worked hard on this. You've pulled all this information together. You've done your research on the company. You wrote your cover letter. Why wouldn't you have your cheat sheet materials in front of you on a phone interview? It's like taking an open book test. Do it. Have them in front of you. You worked hard on creating those materials. They're going to ask you questions about your experience, and you want to be able to reference that as quickly as possible. So definitely make sure that you have your resume and any other materials that you use to apply for this internship in front of you on the call. That includes any of the notes that you took for the research that you did on the company. Use it. This is your opportunity. All right, next section. Are you taking notes? If you are, write down the next section is during the phone interview. So we've already covered before the phone interview, we've covered day of the phone interview, and now we're on to during the phone interview. So that's how you can title your notes. And tip number 9, stand up. That's right, when you are on your phone interview, stand up. I actually take most of my calls, whether it's an interview or a business call, standing and walking around even, because it keeps your energy up. When you're slouched in a chair, you're not presenting yourself with a ton of confidence. So stand up, shoulders back. You got this. Number 10, I want you to speak up. No mumbling, no speaking so softly that they're having to ask you to speak up. That is a no-no. If they have to ask you to speak up or to clarify a bunch of times on this call, then you're doing it wrong. Make sure that you are speaking up during this phone interview. Again, you're trying to give them a good first impression, and speaking up shows that you're confident. Tip number 11, smile as you speak. You're not in person with the company. You don't get to present yourself with body language and give off the confidence through your body language. So smiling is the next best thing. And you're gonna come off a lot more positive if you're smiling. Let's just start off with even how you greet someone on the phone as an example, right? If I greet someone like, "Hi, this is Jenna," versus, "Hi, this is Jenna," it makes a difference. Yes, the tone in my voice also went up, but the smile just presented more positive energy. Plus, it's gonna trick you into thinking that you're having a better time than you are as well and calm some of that nervous energy down. Number 12, provide clarity when you greet them. This is all about how you answer the phone when they first call you. And it's super important that you're not just answering the phone and saying, "Hey," like you would greet a friend. I want you to actually present yourself with your name. So, "Hello, this is Jenna," right? It lets them know that they called the right person. And again, there's that upbeat greeting that everyone likes to hear. Sound professional from the moment that phone call kicks off. Number 13, pace yourself. There is no need to rush through this call. And if they ask you a question that you really just don't have an answer to right away, it is okay to say, that is a great question. Please just give me a quick moment to think of a specific example for you. People will respect this, believe me. I've had people who I can tell really didn't have an answer ready and they were just rushing through because they felt like they needed to answer that question in that very second. That's not the case. Again, take your time, pause if you need to, think about something, because specific examples and actual stories about things that you've done and accomplished, those are going to take you a lot further than just answering a question to answer a question. Tip number 14, participate in active listening. Now, this one's kind of twofold, right? One, if you're actually engaging with them and giving them cues as they're talking to show that you're listening, things like, got it. Yes, that's so interesting, right? You're giving them those affirmations as they're talking. That shows that you're being a good listener. And the second reason that this is important is because it actually allows you to stay in the moment and not trail off into thinking about what your next thought or question for them is going to be. We've all been there. We all tend to daydream a little bit or drift off into what we're trying to think about next, and we want to make sure that we're really getting ahead of what's coming next, but it's really important that you're being an active listener throughout this conversation. Tip number 15 is be concise. Please make sure that you are not going on and on and on and on with an answer to one of their questions, especially in the beginning when they're saying, tell me about yourself. Know what you're going to say, have your personal pitch ready and concise, because most phone interviews are only 20 to 40 minutes, and you really want to make sure that the interviewer is getting what they need out of the call, that they're getting to ask all the questions that they have of you. And if you want to revisit something at the end, wait till the end of the call to see if there's time for it, and then go ahead and elaborate from there. But make sure that you're actually being concise and thoughtful with your answers. Tip number 16 is to take notes. And this kind of goes hand in hand with tip number 14, where I talked about being an active listener. Because if you're doing a good job listening, you're also taking notes. You're taking notes on things that you can come back to, because I know we all think that we're going to remember, but we don't, right? I say all the time, I'm going to remember that. I don't need to write it down. I'm telling you, you do. Just write it down. You're going to thank yourself later. And it's especially important for you to write down things that might be a relevant question that you can ask them at the end of the interview, because that truly shows that you are paying attention, and people love that. And that leads us right into number 17, which is ask questions. I don't care what kind of interview this is. Phone interview, in-person interview, doesn't matter. You need to make sure that you have questions to ask them. And I have a great video all about this with sample questions. If you're looking for some of those, you can check this video out after we get through all the tips in this one. I highly recommend you do. But just make sure that you have questions. Bottom line, you need to have questions to ask, because again, it shows that you are actively engaged and interested in this company, interested in this position, interested in the person who you're speaking with, and that you want the opportunity. And it shows that you've been actively engaged throughout this call. This is also your opportunity to clarify things about the role or the company that you didn't find on the website or on the job description or in an article about them. Again, make sure that you're not asking something silly that you could have easily found on your own. But if there's a question you have about maybe next steps in this hiring process, that would be a great question to ask. Which leads us right into tip number 18, which is confirming next steps. Now, it is more than okay for you to confirm next steps as this interview concludes. You can ask them things like, what's your process from here? Or when should I expect to hear from someone on your team next? These are all great and okay questions for you to be asking. And if I were someone interviewing you, I would find it weird if you didn't ask me those questions. Because again, it doesn't seem like you're that interested in actually getting the opportunity if you're not following up on what next steps are. And also, I want you to follow up and make sure that you have an email address for the person that you spoke to on the phone, or the person who's in charge of the hiring process, because you want to make sure that you have that to send your thank you or any follow-up questions that you have. How are we doing? That is 18 tips so far. There's only 2 left, and they're in the final section, which is after the phone interview. So we talked about in tip number 18, getting someone's email address that you can send a proper thank you or any follow-ups. Well, that leads us into tip number 19, which is send a thank you. Now, you can do this over email, or you can do this over snail mail, like a handwritten thank you card. That can go a long way. Whatever you do, make sure that you get the thank you sent the same day as your phone interview. Actually, it should be one of the first things that you do. After you review your notes when you get off the phone with someone, you should then put together a thank you note for them. Never forget to send a thank you to someone, because companies actually are known to just write you off altogether from the whole hiring process if you don't send them a thank you. This is your first opportunity to show them how much you care. And tip number 20, the final tip in how to prepare for a phone interview, is follow up. Make sure that you're following up with not only the person that you had the phone interview with, but the person that maybe kicked off this hiring process with you, the person who's in charge of hiring the interns all together. You want to let them know that you had a great call with their colleague and that you really are looking forward to next steps. And if it's the person that you had the call with, go ahead and send them a follow-up with follow-up questions. Maybe, hey, like I took some great notes during the interview and there's this one thing that I still had a question on for you. They're gonna like that. They're gonna like that you're still engaged and that you're actively pursuing them. And if it's been a couple weeks, or maybe they said that they were gonna get back to you in a week and you haven't heard from them, it is okay to send them a follow-up. Make sure that you're sending them a follow-up. It's one of the most important steps in getting hired is the people who actually follow up are the ones that are more likely to make it through the process. One more bonus tip that I have for you, just because I care. If you have the opportunity to plug in a headset or use AirPods for your call, then do it, because it's so much easier when you're trying to reference your resume or other things to be hands-free. Plus, I think it just gives the call more clarity. It's easier for people to hear you, and you can hear them better as well. That's 21 tips for you today. I hope you were taking notes, because this is something that you can go back and use as a checklist the next time that you're preparing for your phone interview or Skype interview, whatever it may be. Make sure that you are going over these tips again. And if you need to, go back and rewatch this video to capture any of the points that you think you may have missed or that you need to just hear again. Just remember, this is your first impression with a company. It's so important that you're presenting yourself confidently, everything down to that smile while you're talking on the phone. Good luck with your phone interviews. Congratulations on making it to this stage in the hiring process. I hope you get this internship. And if you have any more questions for me on the phone interview process, then go ahead and leave them in the comments below. If this video gave you some new insights today, please give it a like and share it with a friend or two. Hit that red subscribe button below so that you don't miss out on future videos. In support of your hustle, I'll see you next Monday.